Brock Boeser buzzer beater lifts the Canucks to a 5-4 overtime win in Nashville. We're breaking it down on Rink Wide Vancouver. And we welcome you inside the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studios in downtown Vancouver. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Rink Wide Vancouver brought to you in part by Bet365. I'm Jeff Zerf. We saw a pretty good comeback on Saturday night. Well, not in the eyes of Blue Jays fans, perhaps, but in just the grand scheme of sports, it was a remarkable comeback. This wasn't quite on that level, Irf, but for the Vancouver Canucks, they wrap up the road trip. They go 2 for 3. Both wins required an extension of play, the shootout in St. Louis, and this one looked like it was headed for the skills competition. But Brock Boeser had other ideas. His second of the night, 6th of the season. Road trip got off to a tough start for him. Didn't last the first minute of that game against the Blues. And this one, the last guy to touch the puck as he slips a backhand past UC Saros with less than 2 seconds to go. And what started out as a fairly slow, sluggish hockey game, that turned into a wild finish, but end of the night, Canucks somehow, some way, find a way to get the victory.
An eventful road trip for Brock Boeser and the Vancouver Canucks, especially him, to say the least, Jeff. But yet again, Brock continues to haunt the Nashville faithful and those Nashville Predators. Something about that city and that arena makes it's something in the water there in Nashville.
Yeah, when he's on the ice, don't leave the building. He's not done his work until that final horn sounds. And, of course, this is a guy that scored a shootout winner earlier in this season for the Vancouver Canucks, and so, hey, maybe he would have had the game on his stick as well, but he didn't feel like sticking around for a shootout, said, nope, I got this thing in OT, as the Vancouver Canucks had a 4-2 lead with 8 minutes to go. They should have been home and cooled out. They're overnighting in Nashville. You joked to me midway through the third period, you said, boy, if ever there's a green light special, they're flying home tomorrow. At 4-2, yeah, it looked like they were going to get to have their fun on the town, even on a Monday night in Nashville. Still, any night there is a fun night, but that lead got away from them. And in fact, two-goal leads got away from the Vancouver Canucks, so that's a little bit concerning, especially against a Nashville team that didn't have its captain, Roman Josi, but the Canucks got their captain back. Quinn Hughes played a lot and had some moments in this hockey game, certainly. And the Canucks, as we know, are a much better team with Quinn Hughes in the lineup. But, boy, they had to work to get this victory against the Predators. Lost 2-1 in Nashville 10 days ago. That was the end of that road trip. This is the finale of this road trip. And so the Canucks will be feeling a little bit better about themselves. And, again, we say it through all the adversity, the travel, the injuries. They're finding ways to keep their head above water. It may not be pretty hockey right now. Ended up giving up too much against the Preds, but they get the 2 points. Nashville only gets 1, and this Vancouver Canuck Hockey Club lurches back to 500. They're 7-7 through 14 games.
I'm really happy you didn't say what their record was before going into that.
No, I left that to Murph.
Yeah, I'm not doing it either.
Gene Principe would have been proud of Murph with that opener, I think.
Not doing it. But anyway, I mean, look, I think you just hit the nail on the head there. They're finding ways to, keep their head above water. And it was an interesting game, to say the least. Like, you blow a 2-goal lead twice, back's against the wall, you not really good enough to do that or take it to a team in the third period where you should, but is your goalie the guy that's going to steal you the victory? Like, is he back to that guy yet as well? So there's lots of things that the Canucks looked at, but I mean, in the end, all that really matters is the extra point, and they did walk away with it.
They did. And look, we want to hear from you. This is a fully interactive program. You know that by now. So bring it. Hit us up with the super chat. What did you like in this hockey game? Where are your concerns? Were you not entertained? At the very least, come on. 9 goals between the Canucks and Nashville. The last time there were just 3. So, this time goals galore. And not sure that I expected that, especially when it was a 1-1 tie after 20 minutes of play. But certainly, we're looking for your thoughts and your comments, questions. You'll get to the top of the queue if you bring it with a super chat. Our charity partner again this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. And we've got a super chat from Justice16. I'm back home from that mini game, which means I can donate again, go charity, and go my favorite Brocky Boo. Glad the power play got going. It has been rough. Yeah, but that's a double-sided coin here. Yes, the Canucks scored a couple of power play goals. That's the good news.
Yeah.
They also gave up a couple of power play goals to a power play that came into this game 30th in the NHL, 12.5% on the season, and again, no Roman Josi, who has won the Norris, means pretty much to the Predators what Quinn Hughes does to the Vancouver Canucks, and they're a better team with their captain in the lineup. And yet Nashville found a way to gut it out. They got the power play goal from Holla that just looked too easy, the way they rotated that around and kind of backed into the soft space. That was late in the second period. And then Nick Blankenburg with his first, as a Predator, first of the season, with 3.5 minutes to go there, shot from the point that pinballed around a little bit and found its way in on the short side of Thatcher Demko. So, yes, the good news, the power play. The bad news is a penalty kill that has now matched the Ottawa Senators, Travis Green and Nolan Baumgartner. They've got some company because those two teams have both allowed 15 power play goals. That is the most in the National Hockey League, and that's not a category that you want any part of leading at any point of the season.
No, I saw you kind of half jokingly point out on X, got to give Teddy Bluger and Derek Forbert a raise. Well, you're not joking there at all, I don't think, because those guys really mean so much to this PK. And remember early in the season, we talked about how they used 12 or 13 different forwards to go and do that and be that PK as a committee. Maybe you got to get back to that. You maybe got to try and figure something else out here because this is not working. You can't put yourself into penalty trouble if you're the Vancouver Canucks, and they know that. And the Nashville Predators stink. Like, their power play is bad. It's atrocious. Near the bottom of the league in the National Hockey League. So giving them a chance and giving them some confidence even when their offense isn't going, and that just isn't good enough if you're the Vancouver Canucks. And also some penalties you just can't take as well if you're Vancouver. You know you can't get into penalty trouble because you're probably going to get scored on. It's unfortunate. Special teams can win you a lot of hockey games, and it can lose you at hockey games. On a night like tonight, they're lucky that their special teams didn't fully cost them the game.
Well, we'll get to our stat that stands out a little later on here. This isn't the stat that stands out, but it certainly could be. Just going back through last season where the Canucks got to that rut in games settled in overtime. At one point, they lost 8 consecutive games that were decided in overtime. So not an 8-game losing streak and 8 in a row, but 8 games that required overtime. Mm-hmm. Canucks came out on the short end of 8 in a row at one point. That was part of giving up 14 or leaving 14 points on the table. I was just looking at this. Through Christmas last year, the Canucks were 3-8 in games that extended beyond regulation time. They are a perfect 4-0 for the. I mean, you can't ask for a whole lot more than that. They've done it in shootouts, and done it in overtime now. Kiefer Sherwood had the overtime winner against the Edmonton Oilers, and here it was Brock Besser. So again, it feels like they're kind of dumbing down overtime, if you will, not trading chances.
No,
and it's working for them. It's not a ton of fun to watch. Like when you think 3-on-3, this is going to be great. There's all this skill out there. Canucks really playing the possession game. They had the puck for about 75% of overtime. The Predators didn't touch it an awful lot, but they couldn't do anything with it. There was the one shift there where Quinn was just standing behind the net like, what am I doing here?
Who am I passing it to? Someone get open. There's a lot of ice here at 3-on-3.
Yeah, no doubt. But this sort of a cautious approach, if you'll call it that, or more deliberate, it's working for them. Because last year, they did seem to try to trade chances. How many times did they turn pucks over and other teams were off to the races? And obviously that's when you get into trouble. So they're not giving up much in overtime and finding ways. And you play to the final buzzer. Like, good for Brock Besser. I thought this one was going to a shootout. Like, I did think the game was over.
Yep.
And yet EP40 able to get the puck to Besser, makes no mistake. 4:58 officially the time of the game-winning goal. And the Vancouver Canucks get out of Dodge, get out of Nashville with a 5-4 victory.
You know those battle drills that we hate watching during practice at the end or whenever they do it, those 2-on-2 drills? Adam Foote does some of those when the Canucks practice, and clearly that 2-on-2 play kind of played out there. Philip Forsberg has the draw, and then he completely blows the zone. Quinn Hughes obviously goes with him because he has to, and then it's just a 2-on-2. And credit to Elias Pettersson, credit to Brock Besser for not giving up on the play like you just mentioned, but it's those little things, those little nuances that they do work on in practice, those battle drills that nobody really likes doing, nobody likes taking part of late in practices and things like that. Well, paid out here and got you the extra point.
All right, let's get to the 3 stars here on Rink Wide. 3 stars are always a presentation of Greta Bar YVR. Terrific place to watch any sporting event. And my goodness, you've had your options here over the last couple of weeks. And that'll continue. Hockey, football, soccer. We're done with baseball. But Greta, walking distance from both the rink and the stadium. But if you're looking for a night in, indoors at the very least, and you want to watch games on TV, Greta has you covered. All the big screens to go along with the great street food menu. They've got game day specials, got weekly drink specials as well, and then all those arcade games as well. When there's a lull in the action, check it out. Greta Bar, the place to be. 50 West Cordova. Greta Bar, let the games begin. In the building, 3 stars selected by Nashville Media. Brock Besser, Evander Kane, Philip Forsberg. We've got all 3 here as well, just in a slightly different order. Brock needed a night like this. Through all the heat that's been on EP40 and the attention to the injuries and Quinn Hughes and when he's getting back, and Brock obviously left the team for personal reasons and then left the game the other night in St. Louis. It has been an up and down year, but through it all, he had 1 goal in his last 7 games. And got off to a nice start, but then had gone a little too quiet. Whether you like this lineup or not, Brock Besser remains one of their best options to score goals. And so he had gone quiet. Jake DeBrusk had gone quiet. They both score here tonight, but Brock with 2 goals and an assist. And so no question about it, he's the first star of this hockey game. We talked about him. Philip Forsberg had himself a night.
Yeah.
A goal and an assist. 9 shots on goal. At one point, the Predators had 12 shots, and he had 6 of them. So no Roman Josi. Somebody's got to pick up the slack there. And Philip Forsberg, a proven scorer in this league. He was going. He had 12 shot attempts, played almost 20 minutes, and ends up with 2 points. So there you go. He's the second star. And Evander Kane gets his first 2 goals as a member of the Vancouver Canucks. Had the one the other night overruled in St. Louis. But these 2 count. Scores on the power play to tie the game at 1. Nice one-timer from the right points. Pretty decent puck movement by the Canucks there. And then Evander Kane, the old 6-on-5 goal early in the third. Delayed penalty in effect. Canucks get the extra attacker out. And with the Abbey guys, essentially, Linus Karlsson with a nifty little back pass, and there was Kane at the back door. 3 minutes and 2 seconds into the third period, gave the Canucks a 4-2 lead. Looked like they were, kind of felt like they should have been comfortable. I don't want to say home and cooled out. But Evander Kane with the 2 goals, that part's good.
Yep.
Better if Evander Kane also took his 9th minor penalty of the season, and it's all part of the Evander Kane experience. I thought it was a soft call, quite frankly.
The call was terrible.
Like Evangelista basically comes in head sort of lowered, and I don't know. I didn't think Kane raised his stick at all, but he was called for high sticking with 4 minutes to go.
I think he got called, 1, based on reputation.
Sure.
And 2, I think if he hadn't moved his glove to kind of put that stick in the position, if he kind of just kept it there and maybe just stuck out his elbow or something like that, probably wouldn't have got called. But the fact that he kind of moved a little bit, I think that's why the referee called it on him. I don't think it should have been a penalty. A little bit soft, especially at that point in the game. But unfortunately, Evander's going to get the worst part of those calls on more nights than not.
Yeah, and so you're hoping that your teammates can pick you up at that point.
Mm-hmm.
He had done a fair bit of heavy lifting offensively, and that's nice to see. And you hope that this can get him going. At least it removes that question of when are you going to score. He looked like a goal scorer on both of his goals. So steps forward for Evander Kane. He is the 3rd star of this hockey game against the 3 stars. Are brought to you by Greta Bar YVR. So many talking points to get to in a game like this one. Let's talk about the captain, because he comes back, plays 27 minutes and 54 seconds, 6 shots on goal, 9 attempts. It's like he never left. I mean, those are Quinn Hughes' numbers. Played a bunch in overtime as well. I thought he had his moments on that 6-on-5 goal, the Kane goal. That's what Quinn Hughes can do that not a lot of guys in the league can do. It was Ozzy Weisblatt was the Predator up high, and Quinn puts him in the spin cycle there, creates space, is able to work the puck to the side, and the Canucks move it in front and ultimately able to score there. There were a couple other examples. We talked about overtime. He was trying to make some things happen there. But maybe it was the time off. First goal, he jumps up into the neutral zone, doesn't win his battle there.
Yeah.
And if you watch the replay, I saw a lot of people were giving Petey crap for the back check. he had some company from the blue line in as Forsberg opened the scoring. Quinn Hughes not exactly busting it all the way back there on the back check, but good to have him back. He's part of a victory, and he and the hockey club can feel good about this one as they head for home, and they've got a tough schedule coming up here, but they do get a night in Nashville to have a little fun.
28:05 of ice time for Quinn Hughes, so they never really ease him back into the lineup. They cut the captain loose, and I think he obviously, maybe more than anyone, is the most trusted by the head coach, with their relationship and as to how they know each other and what Adam Foote knows what Quinn Hughes is capable of, and when he's at his best and when he's not. But if he's in the lineup, he's going to play a lot. There was a point in this game where the frustration kind of showed a little bit more for Quinn, and we've kind of been seeing it more and more this season where he's looking pissed off and
animated Quinn Hughes.
But there's reason for it, right? I mean, he's doing so much to try and will his team to victory every single night. Maybe a little bit too much, no fault of his own, but there were some times where he got into it with Evangelista. You never see that. Kind of gave him a little stick jab after the whistle. There was times where he definitely looked frustrated when plays were called at the end of it because, the one behind the net, especially in overtime, it's like he's with the puck behind the net. I'm the best player. Somebody please get open for me. And nobody did. So it's one of those things where, you get the win, so you're happy about it, but it's something that, we're going to have to keep an eye on here because, if Quinn Hughes isn't in a good mood and playing angry all the time, what's going to happen?
Well, we did our vibe check. We'll do another one at the end of November. We won't go there now.
No.
He's back, and that's what matters. And I saw some people on social like, why would he go all the way to Nashville? Why wouldn't you give him the extra time to rest up and recover? A, Quinn knows his body.
Yeah.
B, I get that this medical staff through the years maybe doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt, but they're not going to risk the health and well-being of Quinn Hughes. And so he looked fine. He got in a skate yesterday. He joined the team on the road in Minnesota. Just watching him, I didn't get a sense that he was favoring the groin issue that kept him. It didn't seem to be plaguing him in any way. He looked like Quinn Hughes. And so, again, the people that, if he hadn't gone on the road to play Nashville and he had waited until Wednesday, there would have been some that thought that was like,
people are going to bitch no matter what.
Exactly. You have to understand that they've got information that you, as a fan sitting on your couch, you just don't. And so, could he have said, I don't feel like going on this trip? He's the captain of this team. He knows that they're undermanned right now. He's going to get back in there when he was ready. He got the green light, and he played, and he pulled on the rope in the right direction, just like most of the other guy. It wasn't a perfect game for the Vancouver Canucks. They win despite Thatcher Demko giving up 4 for the second straight game. And where I really didn't like the Jonas Brodin goal the other night in Minnesota, I looked through these goals. I'm not sure that there are real stinkers among them, but that Demko puts a lot of pressure on himself, has a lot of faith in himself. He's a confident guy. He wants to lock down a 4-2 lead with 8 minutes to play. And so he gets the win at the end of the night. But again, they're not going to win a lot of nights when they give up 4. But they found an opponent that they were able to beat because they got a 5th one in OT.
Well, like I said in the beginning, this isn't a knock on Thatcher Demko just yet, but they aren't good enough to sit back on a lead in the third period of a hockey game yet. They just haven't proven that yet.
Yep.
And I think that they know that as well. So when we sit here and talk about it, we're like, why aren't they being the aggressor here in the third period? You're up to go get another one. You go, because Nashville's going to press. You never know what's going to happen. You take penalties a lot. You're not good on the power play or on the PK. So you have to kind of be the aggressor and sometimes in these situations. And it's frustrating to watch them play like that because, unfortunately for Thatcher Demko, he might not be there yet. He might not be at that elite level yet. It's going to come. It's coming. It's almost there. But to count on him, to hang him out, to dry, so to say, I don't think that they're there yet.
No, and I look at the last 2 goals by the Predators. Bunting out of the corner, tough shift for Dave Petey there. Mm-hmm. Couldn't clear the puck, and then Bunting able to get to the front of the net and get around him. Puck deflects off his skate. That made it a 1-goal game with 8 minutes to play, and the Predators were pushing. I mean, they outshoot the Canucks 14-8 in the third period, and it felt that way. I'm almost surprised the Canucks had 8 shots in that third period. Yeah. Canucks did kill off a Philip Hronek penalty, but then they could not kill off the Evander Kane penalty with 4:37 to go, and that was Blankenberg, as we said, with that shot that looked like it may have tipped in off Marcus Pettersson. I saw you pointing out that, yes, all three of the Petterssons figured in the scoring the second time this year. Elias Pettersson, the forward, got an assist on the Besser goal, so he ends up with 2 points, so a multi-point night for him. It wasn't a banner night, and we heard Adam Foote defending him earlier prior to the game, talking about all the hard matchups and how hard he's playing and, playing in the mud, but ultimately there are two ends of the ice. You want to see some offensive production, and he's in on 2 of the 5 goals. So he found a way to make contributions, but he did it without a single shot on goal in this hockey game. Let's get to the stat that stands out, because I like this one, and it'll lead us to our next talking point here. The stat that stands out, delivered by Uber Eats, and every time the Canucks are playing at home, you can get a buy one, get one 6-piece chicken McNuggets from McDonald's in Vancouver, only on Uber Eats. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip before, during, or after the game. We like after the game. Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Hashtag crave the stats. And if you're watching along on the live stream, you can see this here. Tom Willander picks up his first career NHL point in the same building where he was drafted 11th overall back in 2023. So he'll always have draft day in Nashville, and now he can add his first National Hockey League point to the collection, and not all assists are equal. Like, this wasn't a token second assist where somebody else did all the heavy lifting and the puck winds up in the net. Here, DPD puts the puck on Willander's stick at his own blue line, and you saw the skating skills, you saw the presence, that hockey IQ to skate into space, carries the puck. Looks like he's going to go around behind the net, but centering pass, got a little fortunate that it clanked off a couple of skates right onto the stick of an on-rushing Brock Besser, and Brock has made a living scoring goals in the slot when he's got a clear sight at the net, and pulled the trigger there, made no mistake about that one. It came 2 minutes after Jake DeBrusk had put the Canucks in front for the first time tonight, but just an awful lot to like in Tom Willander's play on the goal, and like we said, I know you weren't in here on Saturday, it was Harm, but you can just see. I mean, the confidence is coming with this young guy. Doesn't play as much as he did the other night.
Yeah, only 10:52.
When he comes back, there's only so much ice time to go around. But still, I think another step forward, a step in the right direction for Tom Willander.
Well, the fact that he's still in the lineup, obviously, with Quinn back is another thing. Mancini, you don't really know what's going to happen there later down the road. But yeah, good for Tom Willander. Obviously, he's going to have some great memories. I was at that draft in Nashville. A lot of question marks after the Canucks made the pick, whether if they got the right guy or not. And you see who was drafted after. You can go and look at it yourself. 2023 draft is the Connor Bedard draft. But yeah, I think that, look, he's going to develop into a good hockey player for this team. It's going to take some time, but there are some signs of his game improving every game. And I think that that's the thing that when you look at him overall, Jeff, you walk where everyone's going to get watched through a microscope. But for him, it's the subtle improvements. It's were you better in your own, and it's did you make the most of your ice time in a game where you played 10 minutes less than you did a couple nights ago, right?
Yep. And
that's exactly what he did, and good for him for picking up his first career point.
Yeah. Look at the underlying numbers. Individual Corsi of 47%, so just a shade under 50 there. The shots were 3-2 in favor of the Predators, so he gets outshot, but by 1, and it's fairly low event. And really, at the end of the night, were you on the ice for more goals for than you were against? And the answer is yes. So he gets the assist, so he was on the ice for that Brock Besser goal. He wasn't on the ice for any of the goals that the Nashville Predators scored in this hockey game. So, keeps it clean defensively. Again, didn't play an awful lot in a tight game down the stretch, and a game where they were killing the penalty twice. Just looking at the numbers, yeah, he only had 3 third-period shifts and 1 in the second half of the third period, but that involved the 2 penalty kills, so he was never going to be part of those situations. So, yeah, I mean, just a fairly quiet but clean and efficient night, and I think another step forward. And, you make the point that before this puck dropped, he stayed in the lineup, and a veteran of more than 200 NHL games, P.O. Joseph, who has struggled to find his game and find his level, he comes out. Now, there's a righty-lefty thing there, but P.O. Joseph, part of the reason the Canucks were interested in him was he could play left or right side here. And so
No, if I'm the Canucks, Willander's playing every day, 10 times out of 10.
Right, and I think that the other night in Minnesota absolutely cemented that decision. So it kind of feels like in a relatively short period of time here, 4 games for the kid, he has edged in front of the injured Victor Mancini, but certainly moved ahead of P.O. Joseph as well on this defensive depth chart. Got another comment here in the chat that I want to get to. Darian says, DeBrusk 5-on-5 has been a bummer. He's a streaker, though, and another opportunity here for him to go streaking. I guess he can't start the streak without the first one. So Jake DeBrusk gets his 3rd of the year. It comes on the power play midway through the second period. I love the pass from Elias Pettersson. We're showing it here. Threads the needle through the legs of Ryan O'Reilly, and Besser trying to go backdoor to Evander Kane. And Jake DeBrusk got other ideas. Hey, why not? Puck had to pass him. He was able to get position on Brady Shea in front of the net and got a little bit of the puck, but enough to poke it past UC Saros for DeBrusk. His 3rd of the year, as we said. All 3 of them have come on the power play, which, again, this is where he did a ton of damage, 14 goals last year with the man advantage, but that also meant 14 at even strength. The even strength goals are still missing here for Jake DeBrusk, and it's funny because up until he scored that goal, at one point early in the hockey game, he leaned over and we're gonna have to talk about Jake DeBrusk on the post game.
Yeah,
and so let's do it. I mean, yes, he scores a goal and had a bunch of shots, and we've seen a game already in Chicago where he had 10 shots on goal. Here he has 6. So putting pucks on the net, plays 21:03. Gets the goal. That was his only point on the night. But they need him. They need him to be more productive. He has to find his 5-on-5 game here because the power play goals are great, but the bulk of the game is still played at even strength. And whether he's lining up with Elias Pettersson on the top line, we saw a few changes right off the top. Pettersson played with Sherwood and Kane, and that dropped both DeBrusk and Besser down to play with Lucas Reichel. And Reichel very much a work in progress here, certainly as a center since being acquired by the Vancouver Canucks. But Jake DeBrusk is a proven goal scorer. He's got to find a way. And 6 shots on goal, maybe that's a step in the right direction. We'll see. And yeah, it kind of feels like he's long overdue to get on one of those streaks that he became famous for last season.
Yeah, I mean, look, six shots on goal, not one of them were high danger, according to Natural Stat Trick. And I think that's where you look at it and say, okay, is he just shooting from the perimeter?
Yep.
Are these shots just going right in the middle of the goalie's chest, or is he giving him a chance to score or anything like that? But according to Natural Stat Trick, just, none of them were high danger chances. So I think you just want to see him getting into the areas where he knows he can do damage, and that's in tight, right? That's where on the power play. Unfortunately, that can't always be the case.
No.
Played just over 16 minutes of even strength. And it's getting to those areas in front of the net where you can bang and crash, and he's a big body, and you saw him on the power play goal getting his body into positioning to able to get his stick on the ice there. But the 5-on-5 play definitely needs to get better for Jake DeBrusk. They need him to get better in that area, but you hope the streakiness continues here. You see one go in the net, maybe a snowball effect will happen and you'll see some more pop in, but you want to just see a little bit more. You want him to, look like a goal scorer that we know that he is. Yeah. He scored a lot for this team last season.
Yeah.
Like, it's there.
I guess what surprises me is, and I wrote a piece at Canucks Army after the St. Louis game to close out the month of October, and the title was basically the Canucks managing to keep their head above water despite a sluggish start from Jake DeBrusk. His underlying numbers have been brutal. And, Adam Foote's talked about the fact that these hard matchups in the absence of so many other guys in this lineup that basically they're asking the top of the line to play the matchup and just kind of hold their own and figure out ways to win, whether it's Kiefer Sherwood with a hat trick, whether it's Thatcher Demko standing on his head. But the offense hasn't been there necessarily for Elias Pettersson. We talked about Brock Besser had been a little bit quiet. Jake DeBrusk, if you're going to be a top of the lineup guy, even on a team that struggles, you're going to get first unit power play time. You're going to get a fair bit of ice time. You just have to. You've got to find a way. And so prior to this one, he had 2 goals, both in the power play. Now he's got 3, all with man advantage. 14 games in, or if he's got 2 assists, they're both secondary assists, and they came in the first 2 games of the season. He's got 12 games now without setting a teammate up either. So at 5-on-5, there haven't been any goals, and there haven't been any assists since the second night of the season either. On a night like tonight, they win. You let them feel good about themselves, but the case remains. It doesn't change anything about Jake DeBrusk. They just need more. They need more from one of their go-to guys offensively, and we'll see. The best case for him, he didn't score in the month of October last year, and then I think he had 9 goals in November. So, again, it's proven that he can and often does get on these runs, and we'll see if he can back it up when the Canucks get back in action, when they get back to town. Got the Chicago Blackhawks in on Wednesday night.
Yeah, 5 points through 14 games. It's unfortunately, it's not going to cut it if you're Jake DeBrusk, and I think he knows that too. Like he's a pretty smart guy. Like I mean, he knows where he needs to be better. But you look at the other guys, Kiefer Sherwood, Mr. Cy Young. He's got 9 goals, no assists, but he's doing his part. Connor Garland, 11 points through 11 games this season. You just go down the list of guys that are doing their parts. Now I think it's time for Jake DeBrusk to start pulling his weight a little bit more.
This segment of Rink Wide Vancouver is brought to you by your Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. And no-compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. You can drive up to 72 kilometers on the battery alone, and that's enough to get you from downtown to the rink, to the grocery store, and then back home to recharge. And it seamlessly transitions from electric mode to the gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. No sacrifices when it comes to horsepower or style, with its sleek, low, and wide exterior and its sophisticated interior, and it's loaded with tech that is actually easy to use. You can plug in to recharge at home or at one of over 2,000 public charging stations in British Columbia alone. And right now, you can lease the 2025 Prius plug-in Hybrid SE from $99 weekly at 3.49% APR. That's for 64 months with $3,600 down, and it includes a $3,000 discount. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. I liked the game plan. Like, we've sat here, we've questioned some decisions that Adam Foote has made behind the bench, and I think there have been times where maybe his inexperience as a head coach and a new coaching staff has shown. I actually like the approach to the third period, in as much as with a 4-2 lead, I think he felt at the end of a road trip that he could roll all 4 lines, that the Abby guys, as we continue to call them, I thought they were going tonight and made some things happen. And that third line, the new third line with Aatu Räty and Drew O'Connor, Mackenzie McEachern on the other side, sort of a mixed bag there because Aatu Räty took a penalty at one point in the hockey game, but I think O'Connor continues to skate. It was a good road trip for Drew O'Connor. Didn't figure in the scoring in this hockey game, but I like the fact that they weren't leaning on just 2 lines to try to protect this lead, but alas, the lead did get away from them before they won it in overtime.
Had they gone to shootout and lost this game, my question to you would have been, what didn't you like? So was there anything, I mean, we're talking about a win. It's literally, they finished it with 2 seconds left in overtime, but was there anything that you didn't like from their game that would have been focused on more in a loss?
Well,
you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. No. I mean, they're playing with fire.
Yeah.
If you blow leads, it happened against Montreal. They had a 2-0 lead. Now Montreal's got all that firepower. They were able to come back. Next night, it was back-to-back, but it was back-to-back for the Oilers too. Canucks had 2-goal leads against the Edmonton Oilers. Found a way to win that one in overtime. So the 2-goal leads that have got away from them so far this season, only the Montreal game has really hurt them because they ended up winning against Edmonton. They ended up winning here against Nashville. But still, like, good teams find ways to put opponents away. They didn't look like a team that was going for the Predators' jugular. Like, be the Predators. Beat the Predators, but be the Predators in that situation rather than sitting back.
Especially in the third period up. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's something they're going to have to work on. The penalty kill is a massive concern because, and I think people are aware, I tweeted this out yesterday, but others, like, the schedule's not a secret. I don't own, like, proprietary info about the schedule. It's out there. You can look at it. Chicago, Columbus, the first 2 games on the homestand, and then it gets serious in a hurry. Colorado, Winnipeg, out on the road, Carolina, Tampa, Florida, and then they come home and face the Dallas Stars. 6 teams that are all sitting there thinking, like, this is our year. We're built to win the Stanley Cup now. And We'll see if the Canucks get some more healthy bodies back. Adam Foote seemed encouraged that Connor Garland was close, in his words. I don't know if that means Wednesday or the weekend or what it means, but bottom line is it felt imperative to me, Irf, that when you're playing teams that are sort of at or beneath your level right now, Nashville, Chicago, Columbus, they simply had to grind out points, and they found a way here. They're a 7-7 hockey club. In many ways, it's against all odds, but they've won 7 of their 14 games. Now, they've 4-0 in overtime, which is incredible, or beyond regulation. Just 3 regulation wins in 14 games. That means 11 opponents have taken something off the Vancouver Canucks. So, not something to worry about right now, but regulation wins do matter in the National Hockey League and tiebreakers and all that kind of stuff. So down the road, just file that one away. But at the end of the day, I guess the penalty kill is probably the biggest concern for me. And if Blueger and Forbort aren't anywhere close to coming back, this is your group. Connor Garland's a penalty killer. He'll help when he gets in there. But you just can't be spotting opponents a power play goal a game and thinking that you're going to come out on top more often than not.
Yeah, if Garland doesn't play on, what day are we, Monday? Wednesday.
Yeah.
I'm almost 100% certain he's in on the weekend. As for Blueger, I think that's an interesting one just to keep an eye on, see where he's at. And then Forbort is the mystery in all of this. But when it comes to guys and them getting some bodies back, which will be good and will help this team. But you look at the schedule, you mentioned it just coming up. How many of those nights are they going to get the backup goalie, too? For some of those teams as well.
Yep.
And those are the nights where you got to take care of business if you're not getting the stud in goal. If you're the Vancouver Canucks, you have a 2-goal lead, go for it. Just go for it. You mentioned, be the predator. I just don't understand why they sat back so much, but hopefully, they'll learn from this. It's a win at the end of the day. What do they care if they got 2 points? See you later.
Right, and the single point they give up to Nashville, ultimately that's not going to matter because there's a good chance that the Preds will not be a playoff team when all is said and done, and so who cares about the point that you gave up on November the 3rd? My theory about, the Canucks want to believe that they've got a goaltending edge every single time out. I'm not sure there was a goaltending edge in this one. It wasn't a great night for either Thatcher Demko or UC Saros. And I'm not going to go deep here because I don't really worry about decisions that the Predators make, but I'm just baffled by why are they trying to turn UC Saros into dust? The guy has now started 12 of their 14 games to start this season. Again, you're not a team that's going anywhere. I get riding the number one guy, but wouldn't 10 out of 14 wouldn't that be a heavy workload still? 12 of 14, they just trot him out every single night. No nights off, but he's a workhorse. He watched Pekka Rinne do the same thing for many years there as well. That just seems to be the Predator way. We should mention, and I, again, posted this on social prior to the game. It was sort of a joke, but it also isn't a joke. I said there was a world in which the Canucks could be a point out of first place in the Pacific Division at night's end. Now, it required the Canucks to win. It required the Oilers to lose in regulation, which they did, thanks to old friend Pius Suter with a late goal.
Yeah.
St. Louis beat Edmonton by a score of 3-2. And then it also required the Seattle Kraken to lose in regulation. And the guys south of the border there, down the I-5, they're not holding up their end of the bargain for my formula to work perfectly. As we do our post-game here, it's 2-0 for the Kraken leading the Chicago Blackhawks. If that holds, or if the Kraken hold on to their lead, and we know that 2-0 leads can get away, or 2-goal leads can get away. How about this? Last night it was Anaheim that slept on the division lead. The Seattle Kraken.
The Kraken are frisky.
The Seattle Kraken will have more points than any other team in the Pacific Division if things remain as they are down at Climate Pledge tonight. So it tells you a couple things. It tells you that it's crowded.
Yep.
Near the top of the Pacific Division. It also tells you that nobody has really separated themselves. In fact, nobody has come close to separating themselves. Anaheim has 15 points. Vegas has 15 points. Edmonton has 15 points. Los Angeles has 14. And the Canucks now have 14. So the Canucks are within a single point, but they've also played more hockey than everybody but the Oilers. So there's a bunch of games in hand there. Anaheim's got 3. Vegas has 3. Seattle is playing one of its 3 games in hand. So it's not a fully level playing field. By points percentage, the Canucks are nowhere close to the division lead. But again, when you think of the angst and the couple of times here, like it wasn't that long ago, the Canucks had won 1 of 5 games. And it felt like it was slipping away from them. And here they go 2 for 3 on a road trip that we talked about. They were all gettable games. They weren't very good in many, but they found ways to gut out victories in St. Louis and here in Nashville at 7-7. Like they have remained not just within arm's reach of the chase pack here, but they have remained somehow within arm's length of the division lead, which maybe more than anything is wild to me that for all the stats that stand out, the Vancouver Canucks missing all these players, 9 of their first 14 games on the road. They've barely played at home, very little home cooking, and yet somehow through it all, there they are. They can don't have to look up too high, and they can see the division lead.
I cannot wait till we get to the end of this month, Jeff, for the Vibe-O-meter and the standings-O-meter and all of that. Because my favorite time, I always say it, everyone does, it's right around American Thanksgiving. The end of November, 27, 28, in and around that area is when you look at teams, you look at the standings, and you say, this team is going to do it, or this team is not going to do it, and that's going to be it. And let's start to sell it all off right now before the deadline in March.
LC250 says, if we miss the playoffs because we were tied in points but don't have the tiebreak in regulation wins, then we'll all look back at this game. 2 points is not enough. Got to get the regulation win. Cross that bridge when you get to it. That's on November the 3rd. I'm just having a tough time wrapping my head around the idea of looking back at the end of the season and the Canucks missing the playoffs by a single point.
I'm not doing standing talk till the end of the month.
Fair enough.
No, we can't do it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm with you usually, but I find it kind of funny for the angst in the market that everybody is just kind of scuffling along. Now, again, Anaheim and Vegas have a bunch of games to play to level the games played column at the very least. But for the Vancouver Canucks, 7-7. It's kind of been one step forward, one step back here for the last week or so, but step forward. Can they follow it up? Can they get above 500 when they take on the Blackhawks on Wednesday night? And we shall see. It's going to be interesting. First of all, they've got consecutive days off coming up after the Chicago game, which will be the first time all season, I think, that's been the case. They've just been a busy hockey club. I guess there was one other, I think, after the St. Louis game on Thanksgiving. They had 2 days before they headed out on the road. But it means they'll get a practice time. I think Thursday will be a full Tuesday's a travel day. Wednesday's a game day. I think Thursday is a full team day off. And then a practice on Friday before a busy weekend with both Columbus and Colorado coming to town. So that's kind of what's ahead here for the Vancouver Canucks. One guy I mentioned him in passing, but kind of want to double back to a little bit because we don't talk about him a lot because he hasn't done anything for the Vancouver Canucks. But 6 games now for Lucas Reichel. I was waiting for you to say who. Lucas Reichel. Yes.
Well, I was trying to find him on the stat sheet.
Yeah, not a whole lot happening there for the newest Canuck. 15 and a half minutes of ice time, a shift in overtime. Didn't have a single shot attempt through regulation. He did try a shot in overtime that deflected up over the glass and out of play. Like most of his teammates, wasn't good enough in the face-off circle. Another night where the Canucks were clearly the second-best team when it came to face-offs. But getting to play with DeBrusk and Besser, those are legitimate National Hockey League scorers. They may not be 50 or 60 goal scorers, but these guys know how to put pucks in the net. And I don't know, Lucas Reichel just not making much happen. And the experiment at center, you wonder when Teddy Bluger comes back, is that I don't know who slides up the depth chart. I mean, these are the questions that the coaching staff's going to have to wrestle with because it's looking it looks like he's not a center, right? Like, I get why they made the trade and give it a shot, sure, but through 6 games, I'm not seeing a natural center iceman at the National Hockey League level.
No, and it's a little bit of the Chicago Blackhawks Lucas Reichel experience that we're getting right now. A little bit more quiet on some nights, but you mentioned Teddy Bluger's name, and it's interesting you say that because what does Adam Foote do with his forward group when you bring Teddy Bluger back? Is it just a straight swap? Because I don't think you want to change the Abbey line. And do you want to put Lucas Reichel in a position where he's playing on the fourth line on the wing or in a different position if you're going to put Teddy Bluger right into the lineup in that center? Like, I mean, obviously it's a tough decision for Adam Foote as to what he's going to do, but if you're not playing Lucas Reichel in a position for him to succeed in your top six, then the question begs where are you going to play him or if he's going to be in the lineup. And then that begs an even bigger question.
Wow, am I prepared to live in a world where Teddy Bluger is the second-line center on the Vancouver Canucks?
Adam Foote was in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I just, Teddy Bluger can help on the penalty kill, but the idea of him playing anywhere close to a top six role on this team.
But if you're getting this kind of output from Lucas Reichel.
No, I hear it.
Yeah.
I get it, and so that's why the search has to continue.
No, of course.
For just better options for this coaching staff. We're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit because I don't think Bluger is an option this week. So we'll see. We'll get. I had people asking me for injury updates on a bunch of guys. There's just not enough people to ask those questions out on the road right now. So kind of need the team to come home off the road. Hopefully get some updates at the game day skate on Wednesday, and by then maybe we see Garland back on the ice. Maybe Bluger is skating, but in a non-contact. Who knows? But I would think when this team gets back home, we'll have an opportunity to get a few questions answered by Adam Foote. I'm just seeing the National Hockey League posting that Brock Boeser scored the second latest overtime winner in Canucks history, officially at 4:58, behind Sammy Salo, who scored an overtime goal at 4:59 back on October 20th, 2006. So...
also tied with Tony Tanti for all-time game-winning goals now, 8th in franchise history.
Yeah, when you play here long enough and you score a bunch of goals, you're going to work your way up those sorts of lists. And Brock has a top 10 guy in a lot of categories as a member of the Vancouver Canucks. Reminder to check out Canucks Army. If you don't make that part of your regular browsing, you should. Got an instant reaction from this game already. We'll have the stanchies and the statsies, a statistical overview of the way this game in Nashville went down. Of course, anytime anything happens with the Canucks, you'll have all the latest there at Canucks Army. And we remind you every program to subscribe to our Rink Wide YouTube channel. Again, the team's going to play some home games here, and we'll have a chance to get to the rink, post some scrums after practice, morning skates, video. If we get our eyes on Connor Garland, we can post a little video there of him getting his way back closer to the lineup. So you don't want to miss anything. Trying to make it a one-stop shop for you. Easy to figure out and find out what's going on with this hockey club. Subscribe to our Rink Wide YouTube channel.
Yep.
All right. Were there 4 games in the National Hockey League here on this Monday?
Mm-hmm.
A few more tomorrow. It's a fairly busy Tuesday. Where are you looking when it comes to our Bet365 line of the night?
A lot of action on Tuesday. I kind of like doing these shows on Mondays because you get a lot of stuff to pick from, either on a Tuesday or a Thursday or even a Saturday. So let's take a look at it. So what I'm going for, a little 4-game parlay.
Whoa!
Like the Canadians at home to Rick Tocchet and the Philadelphia Flyers. Dallas Stars, Edmonton just losing in St. Louis. They got to travel to Dallas. Dallas Stars know they're playing an outdoor game in 2 years, so that'll be some big news there.
And Jerry's
the Colorado Avalanche are going to take care of business against the Lightning. I think the Lightning stink this season, and the Winnipeg Jets is a road dog in LA to take on the Kings. So put all those together, plus 869, some pretty good odds.
Oof, yeah, look at that.
Yep, it's whatever you bet. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION. Bet365 must be 19 or older. Please pay responsibly.
All right, we mentioned Chicago comes to town on Wednesday. It's the start of a 4-game homestand for the Vancouver Canucks. Chicago, Columbus, Colorado, and then Winnipeg on Remembrance Day night. Blackhawks, you mentioned sort of the plucky Kraken. There are a bunch of teams the early going, and maybe they find their level, or maybe they continue to surprise, but the Blackhawks headed into this game in Seattle 5-4-3. So a game above National Hockey League 500. Now, they've dropped 2 in a row and 3 of their last 4, but they've done a nice job of picking up points. Just 2 outright losses in their last 9 games, so they're finding ways to at least extend games. Part of that was a 3-2 shootout loss to the Canucks back on October 17th when Chicago jumped out to a 2-0 lead, and then the Canucks had to rally there. And, of course, it's homecoming for Connor Bedard, who's having a decent start to the season now, leads the Blackhawks, or at least has a share of the lead with 6 goals on the season, 15 points, and his running mate there, Frank Nazar, with 11 points. So a couple of youngsters leading the way for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Well, I couldn't get too far ahead of myself with my Bet365 picks, but hammer Bedard's over in shots. It's going to be 3.5. He'll shoot at least 6 times against that game against the Vancouver Canucks, especially here in Vancouver.
I think this might surprise some people that, and again, it's the early going, but the Blackhawks are bordering on being a top 10 defensive team in the National Hockey League. And they're leaning on Spencer Knight, who looks to be coming into his own as a legitimate starter in this league. Now, he's the backup in this one in Seattle, which means he's probably going to get the call against the Canucks here on Wednesday. Lucas Reichel revenge game, Irf?
It's going to have to be. He's going to have to show up.
What will that look like?
I'm not entirely sure, but he's going to have to show up. At least get on the stat sheet, take a shot, do something, take a hit.
And when the Canucks were in Chicago a couple of weeks back, a lot of the talk was Jason Dickinson, first game against the Canucks after his hard hit on Philip Hedl last year. If you're one with a bloodlust and you think that something's going to happen, it's not, because Jason Dickinson was sent home off the road. He's on IR. He won't even play here in his first trip back to Vancouver since the hit on Hedl. So that storyline is out the window.
Well, you mentioned they're one of the best defensive teams in the league with guys like Alex Vlasic, Sam Rinzel, Matt Grieslick, Connor Murphy, Wyatt Kaiser, and Artem Levushinov.
Yep.
Like that's their defense.
But I think that's Spencer Knight,
yeah,
right? Like, I think
that is.
They made the trade, and they wanted a guy that could be their number one goaltender. Got him in the Seth Jones deal last year. It worked out for Jones and the Panthers, and it is looking like it is working out for the Chicago Blackhawks. Again, I don't think they're anywhere close to a playoff team when all is said and done, but I think it's important for Bedard and for that organization to take a step forward. Like, they can't throw in the towel on another season. And again, a decent start for them relative to the first couple of years in this league for the North Van native. All right, we're going to hear from Evander Kane.
Sure.
All right, let's hear from the 2-goal scorer, his first 2 goals as a member of the Canucks after a 5-4 overtime win in Nashville.
Well, I mean, we just talked about with Adam Foote, just the patience in that overtime. You guys grab it with 2 seconds left off of Brock Besser. But what did you think of the team's performance as a whole in this one in order to grab that win?
Yeah, I thought we were really good in the first 2 periods. I thought we did a good job of taking it to them and spend some time on our own. I think we got to get better at learning how to play with the lead and not changing our game plan and retreating. I think we can do a bit better job with that aspect and being able to close out games a little bit better. But, we're not going to complain about going 2-1 on a road trip.
Not just your first, but also your second goal of the season. How did it feel to find them back of the net tonight?
Yeah, it was nice to finally get one that counted and followed up with another one shortly after. And, looking hopefully that gets me on a roll.
How important was this win just to close off the road trip and before you guys head home?
Yeah, it was a big win. It gets us back to 500, and going home to play a couple of games was important. And now we have to start playing a little bit better at home.
That they do. They haven't played a lot at home, but just 2 wins in the 5 games that they have played. And as we said, this homestand, may get progressively more difficult. I guess maybe Colorado on paper is the toughest, but Winnipeg off to a great start. Mark Scheifele, the way that he has come firing out of the gates here. So, again, it puts a premium on the Chicago and the Columbus games. Try to get something out of those before you start to run that 6-game gauntlet.
Well, I mean, and Evander's old team was really good at playing with the lead. We had some pretty good players at playing with the lead, and he hit the nail on the head there. So we have to learn how to play with it, and you can't be retreating the whole time. It's exactly what we spent an hour talking about on this show. So they know exactly what they need to do and where they need to be better. But yeah, it's being the aggressor, and hopefully they can do that.
Brock Besser, they've credited him with 6 shots on goal now. So 6 shots for number 6. He gets his 6th goal of the season with 2 seconds left in overtime. Second of the night. That was the game winner. The Canucks get out of Nashville with a 5-4 overtime victory. So they've split their 2 games at Bridgestone Arena. These teams will meet one more time here in Vancouver later on this season. Next up for the Canucks, the Blackhawks on Wednesday. That's when we'll be back with our next episode of Rink Wide Vancouver. And again, we'll see if Connor Garland needs close. Does that mean he'll be available on Wednesday? We shall find out then. And whatever happens, we'll be here to break it all down after the game on Wednesday night. So for Jacob Fraser working behind the scenes, for Irf, I'm Jeff. Thanks so much for checking out this episode of Rink Wide Vancouver.